this is Shelly, and I am here with this week's Technique War results. This was week 3, or Elite Stunt Sequence week. During this week, we all did our elite sequences and submitted them to the judges for scoring. This comes up on the score sheet under building. So each team did their stunt sequences, put those videos in, and now we have the results. But before I give you the results, I want to tell you a little bit about how this category is scored. So this is called the building category. Okay, when we get into building, it's a little bit different for each of our types of teams. So our elite teams and our prep teams. So our elite teams are any of our level 1 through level 6 teams. Our prep teams are our youth white, mini white, junior white, youth black, junior black, and tiny red. Okay, these are all considered prep teams. So these go on a little bit different score sheet, and I'll explain that as we go through here. So when we look at prep teams and how prep teamers are scored, remember all teams in every category get 2 scores. They get a technique score, so that's how well what they did or how good what they did was, and then they get a difficulty score, so that's how hard was what they did, right? And those are within a range. So when we talk building, just like all the other categories, for elite, the maximum score you can get is a 5, okay? For prep, the maximum score you can get is a 4.5. So we try to build all of our routines so every team has the opportunity to score in the high range, right? Between 4.5 and 5 points. For prep, that would be between 4 and 4.5 points. On an elite team, to score in the high range, you must do 4 level appropriate skills within your stunt sequence, 2 of which must be elite. Okay, so the elite skills are considered the ones that are just a little bit harder. Usually those involve some kind of skill going to a body position, or something that's just considered a little bit harder than everything else within that level. This must be performed by most kids on the team. So for instance, on a team of, I think our average team in the gym right now is about 18. So on a team of 18, I'm scrolling up here. I'm actually going to go ahead and share this. Well, let's see. See if I can share this with you here. There we go. On a team of 18, you will see, when we go to building, you'll see we're required to have 3 stunt groups in the air. We could have as few as 2, but to be in the high range, we need 4 different level appropriate skills by most of the team, and 2 of which are elite level appropriate, okay, to be in that high range. So this is what we're talking about when we're talking about building. Okay, when we talk about the difficulty drivers, so for instance, you're in the range of 4.5 to 5 is the high range. So the things that make it a little bit higher, if everybody does 4 skills and 2 are elite, the things that are going to make it higher within that range is the degree of difficulty, how hard it is, how much of the team is participating. So if one team has 18 kids and they put up 3 groups, but another team has 18 kids and they put up 4 groups, then their difficulty might be a little bit higher. The pace of the skills, how quickly do the skills happen? These are all things that the judges are looking for that move within a range, right? So by doing 4 level appropriate skills and 2 of them being elite, 2 of those 4 being elite, it just puts you within that high range. Those difficulty drivers are the things that move you up and down within that range. So obviously the more of those skills that we can make elite, the faster they can happen, the higher we're going to score. Now remember, this is a balancing act, and it's a balancing act that coaches we're always working to find, because having the hardest stunts that are executed poorly doesn't equal to a high score, right? It'd be much better to score at the bottom of the high range of 4.5, but then score a really high execution score to end up with a good overall score. And that's the balance that coaches are always kind of trying to find. Okay? So that's difficulty. The next category that we're scored in is execution. And when we talk execution, I'm going to scroll down here. When we talk execution of stunts, it's the same thing that we talked about where we have drivers, right? So you can have up to 1.5 points of execution drivers. So the lowest score you could score is a 3.5 in execution. all the way up to a 5.0. Each of these categories you can lose up to 3/10 in, okay? The first being top person. So we're looking at the flyers. Are they showing body control? Are they all equally as flexible? So sometimes you'll notice, we're always on the flyers about being more flexible. You'll notice if we have two girls that have beautiful heel stretches and then one that's a little bit lower, we're going to get hit here because they don't look the same. Okay, motion placement. You'll hear us all the time talk to the flyers about needing to be sharper in their motions. They need to hit them harder. They need to look the same. And then are their legs straight and locked, and are their toes pointed in their body positions? Okay, when the next driver that they're looking at in stunting is bases and spotters. So we're looking at the stability of the stunt. Are the bases frozen and not moving? Are they squeezing the foot tight? Are they holding a nice solid stance? Are their feet positioned shoulder width apart, right? They're not super far. We talk to the kids about this all the time, the weird lunges that they do as main bases. And are their feet stationary? Are they not moving? So is that stunt really stable from the bottom all the way through the top? We're talking about transitions. So these are our entries, our dismounts, and how fast our stunt sequence is. Is it controlled? Does it go skill to skill? Does it flow well? These are things where we can lose drivers. Synchronization or timing, okay? So this is, for instance, when we put up a stunt sequence, right, and the whole group dips and does a show and go together, is one group a little bit off, or are we all together? If we're hitting a heel stretch on 5, are we all hitting it on 5 and one group's hitting it on 6, or are we all hitting it together on 5? That's where this is. And again, in all of these categories, you can lose 1, 2, or 3/10 based on how you do it. And then obvious mistakes. So these are basically bobbles or falls. So not only do we get the deduction for a stunt fall of 0.75, but we also lose the obvious mistakes driver. You lose 2/10 if you have 2 errors, so 2 bobbles. A bobble being anytime the flyer's body line moves too far out and it's a very obvious mistake, but they save it and it doesn't fall, or a building fall, major building fall, etc. And you lose 0.3 if you have 3 or more bobbles, okay? So that's kind of how that breaks down. The other thing within bobbles is if it's considered an omitted skill. So let's say that we're supposed to do a TikTok that goes from lib to heel stretch, and it's obvious that it's like falling or it's weird, and instead of going to stretch, she goes to lib. We're going to get that as an omitted skill. Or if they're supposed to show and go, drop to prep, and cradle, and the group show and goes, they drop to prep, and it doesn't finish, so they just bring it down to squish, that's an obvious mistake, okay? So that's what those obvious mistakes are about. Now, when we talk about prep, we are talking the same. Sorry, I'm switching back over here. When we talk about prep, we're talking about the exact same things, just the only difference is your high range is 4 to 4.5. You are still required to do 4 skills, but only 1 needs to be elite. So you don't have that same requirement on a prep team of being elite skills, right? So for instance, our prep team scores are going to be lower no matter what when we look at this in this category, because you're not allowed to get all the way up to that 5.0. So we've adjusted your scores for the results of this to match that 5/10 so we can see where you are compared to the elite teams. Okay. So the kids really have been focused really hard. Coaches have been focused very hard on finding those balances between stunt sequences we can hit consistently that are hitting the high range and also that can be executed very well. I was excited to see the scores as they came back from the judges this week. They were good, in line with, as usual, we do very good stunting, and we have lots of teams that scored really, really high this week. So great job to all of our winners and everybody for just improving your stunt sequences and getting them ready to go. We are exactly about 1 week away from our first virtual competition. We're so excited and can't wait. This week, all of the team's pyramid videos are due, and those will go in. So your next video with results will be for pyramids. So congratulations to this week's Technique War winners. Have a great day, guys.